DeFi Kingdoms, where you can summon heroes, trade with other players, quest, and fight challenging enemies in a fantasy world brought to life in pixel art animation. Command your legion, claim your legacy.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's AMA with the DeFi Kingdoms team. Happy to be here as always. Hello to everyone who is tuning in live, as well as everybody who will listen to this recording a little bit later at their convenience. We do have two bouts scheduled today between Winston. Who are you fighting and when? I'm going to pass it to you, actually.
Got me with the take the mic by surprise thing. Today I'm going to be fighting Germ Curry. It's a good dude. He's been doing some hunt insights. That's going to be in about 6 minutes. And then the next one will be about 20 after. Make sure to go check out some of his hunt insights. Really interesting stuff. You can see who's winning big and who has the right to complain. And he's also polling people. He's asking questions, which I think is pretty cool. I try to answer his questions, but I think it's pretty obvious that it's me because I'm always like, no, we don't need to do anything different. That's perfect. So good luck to you, Germ Curry. That's a tough name to say out loud. It reads a lot better than it talks. Good luck, dude.
Yeah, really looking forward to those two bouts. They are, of course, sponsored as well, so please make sure you get in there and cast your influence votes between Winston and Germ Curry, whoever you think is going to take home the crown. So you've got 6 minutes to vote on the first one and 16 to vote on the second. So get in there and get your votes cast. Here's a little preview of what we're looking at right now. Cool. We have two quick updates, and then we will roll into questions. So the first update, a new Visage has gone live. As of last night, the man shrooms are appearing, and they are ready for you. So this is a two-piece set with the Manish cap, where you can wear a man shroom on your head instead of it getting inside your head, and the fungal frock, which is a just incredible looking frock modeled after the bright plumage of the infamous man shroom. So very excited for those. Check them out. There are some pictures of them on Heroes in the Discord announcements channel, as well as some people have already shared what they look like on their particular heroes. They look pretty cool. So check those out if it is of interest to you. And then the second update. So this one is a little bit of a broader update, and I am actually going to refer a bit more to this in response to one of our questions today. But, how do I word this where it doesn't come back at me later? So do not take what I am about to say as any commentary on timelines or anything else. This is purely meant to be the first of many reminders, but, we've announced patrols. Everybody knows that patrols are coming at some point in the future once patrols are ready. However, one of the things that our amazing community members ask so frequently is, what can they do to help with player onboarding? So I'm going to talk a little bit more about this later in the AMA, but one of the big things in conjunction with patrols that you guys can help with is making sure that there is hero liquidity on Metis. So this should not be construed in any possible way as financial advice, nothing along those lines, but we are going to be using patrols as a very promising onboarding route to try to drive players to Metis to acquire heroes and start playing patrols. For that to work, we need there to be heroes. So as you all know, we don't mint heroes. We don't supply heroes. that is part of our players initiative. But it is a lot similar if we, or a lot similar, sorry, a lot simpler if we do not need to direct players to buy heroes on Crystal Vale and then move them over to the Sundered Isles. So that is just a request from me for you all to consider. We will have more information coming later that may help shed more light on that, but just kicking it off today with the initial request, consider listing some heroes over there in the shorter term. Not something that you need to do today. There will be more information coming, but I wanted to at least start plugging that request.
Hey, Bolon, can I add?
Absolutely.
If we say it like a different way, we're trying to get a lot of people to buy your heroes on Metis for the first time. And if there's no heroes there, they won't buy your heroes and then they won't play. So it's like you are doing Bolon a favor, but it's also Colosseum's the launch pad. It's where they'll come first and they're going to want heroes to buy. And if there's not a sexy selection there, they're not going to buy the heroes and then they might not play. So if you like to sell heroes and you want buyers for heroes, we're working on getting you buyers, but they're coming to Colosseum first, especially with patrols and stuff being the focus. So it's not only a favor to Bolon, it's just giving you a heads up on our marketing and user acquisition strategy. Currently, with the build and the focus, that landing point is not the other realms. For the very, very, very brand new people, it is on Metis. And if you have level 1 heroes or other heroes you're trying to sell to new heroes or to new players, move them to where that potential is another way to think of it. Or you can just do Bolon a favor and then hold it over his head for the rest of his life. I'm
okay with either one. And yes, Germ Curry dropping some good pieces in the chat as well. Yeah, also, like let's list them at, realistic prices. But anyway, NFA, do what you want, but there will be more information coming. This is going to be a recurring theme. So stay tuned for more info. With that, we are going to jump into, you know what? We're going to just buzzer fill 4 seconds and let this match load. And then we're going to jump into some questions because that way everybody can see this very first beginning of this fight, which is really, really exciting. Mega, you can list your Common Scholar at 69,000 Jewel. I'd recommend 69,420 personally, but you do you. But your market for that is probably pretty small. So we are loaded into this bout. Germ Curry coming out the gate with the whirlwind. Really excited to watch this match. As always, a huge thank you to Winston for doing these every week and his opponents for stepping up and providing us with this in AMA entertainment. But let's go into some questions.
Is the curry full of germs? It's a J. Germ means something else. Was the curry germinated? I just want to understand.
I do too. I've wondered for multiple years at this point, but I have yet to get an answer. After these bouts, we're gonna try to get Germ Curry back in the chat to answer all of our questions.
I think
it's gonna be Germ Curry's anime.
I think he's explained it once or twice that it's that maybe his first name is Jeremy and that he likes the basketball man Steph Curry. I think he mentioned that once. That's all. I think I could be wrong about that.
I was going to be my second guess.
Yeah. I did wonder about the connection, but you just never know with online names. All right, kicking off some questions. We are actually going to plot twist, not start with Hubert this week. We've got a few questions here that we are going to be throwing to Dreamer, and then actually I'm going to take a couple all before Hubert even gets to speak. So starting out with a couple questions for Dreamer. This is a kind of 2-part but 1-part question at the same time. How many devs are currently working full-time and how many are currently working part-time?
Good question. I'd say from the start of the fall or the bear market, I don't know of any that are active currently that weren't putting in full-time hours on a good chunk of weeks. There are people that put in full-time plus every single week. And I would say everybody else is at least getting pretty close. And I'd say 99.9% of those people are working hours where they are not getting paid. So nobody is like on a full-time hourly level like forever. There are, I can currently think of one during sprints where that did get up to 40 during sprints and to make timelines to get like paid from deals. But the team that you have been seeing build is making tremendous sacrifices, both in not only in the work side, but just the opportunity cost. We all love this project. Yeah, that is the summary. And when you really think about that, that's like what, 2.5 years. Pretty incredible. We do love this, and we are finding the balance of making sure our runway is maximized and our output is like the efficient frontier of output and spending and runway and burn is really hard to hone in on. But I feel like we do a pretty good job with our committees and our board and with Tango as well. And the deals that we're getting to sustain ongoing build. So big shout out to the whole team and the sacrifices they're making to put this out, but we're also trying to take care of our devs as well. So we feel like we found that balance so far, and we'll continue to do the best with output, making sure people like their job and like being here and like building, and that the community is happy with it as well.
Thank you. And just a quick add-on, shout out to Tango. Tango is one of our less publicly seen, but putting in a lot of work behind the scenes to make sure that everything keeps running and keeps going. So huge shout out to him. Second question for you, Dreamer, when you finish coughing. Any currently anticipated funding or capital injection events or anything that we are working on?
Yeah, there's this thing called the Coliseum in Metis, and we landed a grant to build it. Just joking. We want to be really careful not to like overextend ourselves, especially in the middle of such a crucial build. This build is not only important because it brings something fun that is attractive to players in the space that we haven't gotten in yet. That is competition, streamability, content creation, but also on user acquisition strategy. You know, working with guilds, we're finding is an awesome use of time, and the market is kind of prepped to work with guilds. We need to have the content for them, and the Coliseum build plus the optional things you've added on there like patrols sets us up in a massive way, more than any time before, to onboard large amounts of people. So this build's important. We're focused on it. My mind is looking past this deal. What other deals could we be doing that build parts of the game that we need, that help our existing or potential future partners? Traditional raises are something that are just, you know, I hope that they do qualify for us one day. But the reality is most VCs in the space have a mindset that isn't really consistent with a project like ours. They want something that's proven, that's not going to rip them off, but then they want something that's fresh, that isn't it like hasn't been around for a while, or a brand new token that isn't tokenized yet, and or they like everything and they're like, you're trustworthy, you've been around, you show that you are resilient, you have quality, you have a unique game, and the eventual game, really there's not even a game out there that exists like what the near final foundational form of DFK is going to be. And people that see that vision, they then look at the chart and they're like, well, how can you ask for a valuation that's greater than your current market cap? And I'm like, how can somebody with no market cap ask for a valuation that is greater? It's a hard dance. And what we don't want to do is raise from a position of distress, at least what they view as distressed. So I really don't like traditional raises. I think there's a lot of unique opportunity, well, at least for our product currently. But I also have found that in the last 6 months, a lot of people have been approaching us and seeming more open-minded. But man, you can spend a lot of time on a traditional raise. So we are currently in the middle of capital injection. We've been paid out partially. We have to meet those milestones to pay out fully. We have unique things on Metis that continue to pay us with like progress there. I mean, just in terms of like transactional volume and finding ways to distribute rewards and run tournaments and everything there. So we like to take a few steps at a time, adjust, and then see what's possible, what we need, what you guys need. So a little bit premature for that question, although me personally, it's always on my mind, and I bring it up often. Like, we have to look a couple steps down the road, and some things are in the works, but we're not letting them distract us, because this build right now is not only important because we promised to build something, but it's the single biggest catalyst to game players and exposure than any other feature that's come before it. But they've all really added to this release and feature. Back over to you, Bull.
For sure, for sure. Thank you, sir. And one last one for you, and then I'll give you a break. Has the team looked at listing Jewel on a U.S. exchange other than Coinbase, such as perhaps Kraken?
Yeah, that's actually a funny question. It's almost like somebody's recording all our meetings.
Too soon.
Sorry. No, actually, earlier this week, well, last week in Miami, there was a representative from Coinbase that we're able to learn a lot more from, and just build a connection there. Coinbase has always been of interest because they are known as like the single like gold standard of centralized exchanges globally most days. Maybe for a while when certain investigations were going on, people did not seem that way and were a little afraid. With more recent onshore political developments, there's now a lot of interest in US based and US tokens linked and listed at US exchanges. So man, it would be great to get a listing at Coinbase. They don't claim to charge fees, but I think there's some other things in there that we're trying to learn on what it would take. They are claiming, at least in person, to look for quality projects that have been around a while, that should like have evidence that they should be around a lot further and have tremendous upside. I'm like, hey, check. So we shall see how that goes. The question of Kraken, they're a great exchange. I think that their listing requirements are a little bit lesser on the qualitative side. And I also believe that they don't charge listing fees, but I'm not sure. I kind of feel like all the US based exchanges are going to probably take the no listing fees approach, because I think it just kind of calls a lot of attention from regulators. But this came up a couple days ago, and actually an application started already for Kraken. Now, anybody can apply, anybody can do a application, and I'm sure they get thousands of these a day. I have no idea what the process is. Unlike Coinbase, there's no connection that we have there currently. So if this turns into a weekly question of how's the listings going, just know that it won't progress weekly. Who knows? Maybe they'll read it and be like, cool, DFK. And if so, we'll tell you. But yeah, for these two exchanges, we are interested now and more open and comfortable to list on the US exchange. Unclear if we have, like, there's willingness and then there's ability. We are willing, and we're showing willingness through application. Ability unseen. They haven't communicated what they need from us, or what could disqualify us. So more to come.
Thank you, sir. And I'll just add as a fair warning, if it becomes a weekly question, we're just going to stop answering it. We'll keep you updated. But yeah, to Dreamer's point, they're flooded with applications, and a lot of times they just don't respond at all, or it takes months or whatever. So we'll keep you updated, but not weekly, unless there's something to update. Real quick pause on questions. I wanted to give a shout out. Digital Sniper mentioned in the chat, if you're looking for some quick PvP matches, the Common Assault, prove yourself with what you've got. Common, no Dark Summon, level 1 to 3 teams are running matches pretty much continuously. So if you're looking for some quick matches, grab yourself some common low-level heroes and rock out with the Common Assault. Huge shout out to you guys for putting that together. Huge shout out to Mega and Jewelers for JCL as well. The other end of the spectrum, the highly competitive league. It's been so much fun to watch. It's such a blast. So huge shout out to you guys. Let's see. So a couple questions that I'm actually going to take, and they are kind of related anyway to each other. So the first one, what is the team's position on player adoption since PvP has come out? I would say more or less kind of what we anticipated, maybe slightly lower than what we had anticipated. This first phase of PvP with private matches was really meant to be the foundational stage to then build tournaments, to then build the glory and honor system that we've talked about. Obviously, the influence system is already in place, but this is really the foundational stage to have a full-blown PvP experience. Now, what's been really cool is a lot of people seeing this and going, oh man, DFK has PvP now. That's really cool. So it has gotten us some attention, which is what we hoped for. But as far as being like a large scale onboarding catalyst, this first phase, at least in my opinion, wasn't really set up to be that anyway. This is the first phase, the foundational phase, to enable us to do everything else. The second question, which kind of leads right into that, can the team speak to the onboarding plan and when they plan to ramp up promotion of DFK? Yes, I can. Which also is why I was dropping the kind of hint there at the beginning of the AMA about the Metis Hero Tavern. So we are planning on doing many things that we have never done before with patrols. Patrols has the potential to be a very large onboarding opportunity because it will be the easiest that it has ever been to start playing DFK. You can come in, you can pick up any hero, you can get into the combat system, you can start playing, you can start getting rewards, you can start leveling up your hero, all within the combat system. It will be the fastest way to start playing the game that we have ever had. And so we are looking at several opportunities that go along with that and along with patrols in order to really capitalize on that momentum. I don't want to say too much just yet because we're still in the finalization stage of several things, but as those plans are finalized and put into place, we will share more information with you also on what we're doing and what to expect. But we are going to do the largest marketing push that we've really ever done with patrols, and in ways that we have never done it before either, which I'm really excited about. Myself, Sunbear, Dreamer, Starcat, and others have been putting in a lot of effort on these efforts. And I think that we're going to do some really cool stuff that I'm really looking forward to. So stay tuned for more details. But patrols is definitely going to be a big thing that we are going to push very, very hard, like never before, which is why I was talking about needing heroes available on Metis. Does anybody have anything they want to add to either of those topics before I move into our first Hubert question of the day?
I wanted to say something, but I can't remember. What was your first part?
The first part was how we felt about PvP and player adoption.
Yeah, like the phases one. So like phase one, another way you can think of phase one is literally like this is all beta testing eventual PvP. Before we can run a tournament with rewards and entry level and matchmaking and everything, we got to freaking make sure that people like the actual PvPing works. And as we did it, what can we do to enhance it? And then, what systems can we release to make it more consumable for those not playing? So this is all part of like the PvP test is phase one. Phase one is like the beta test to the eventual experience that is much more marketable. I know it's live and it isn't necessarily beta test, but like if you look at the full package, it's foundational, beta test, it's a preview, whatever you want to say. So for somebody to say, are you getting as much people on the beta test as you'd expect? I'm like, we're getting the knowledge that we need to make a good PvP platform that we can then sell well. So we're happy with everything so far, with those contributing, with the feedback, with how much people are enjoying it, how fun it is to watch it, and those that are participating in the various systems that support it.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. Hubert, first question of the day, but actually not locking into Hubert hour. We're going to switch up again. But after a PvP bout ends, the potions that you did not use are returned, but players don't initiate a transaction at the end of the bout. So how does that happen?
It's magic. Yeah, so we with PvP, with hunts, with patrols, when those are out, we use kind of the same approach of having like our executor do some of the transactions to like report what happened from combat. And those transactions can be, you know, processing heavy sometimes. And in the case of PvP, it is very processing heavy because it handles basically everything. It clears the heroes. It gives you everyone their potions back that they deserve, and it also like does everything for like spectators and everything else too, like getting rewards for those who voted correctly if it was a sponsored bout and all of that. It all happens in that executor transaction. So with patrols, there will be a little bit more like player-based transactions happening, but there will still also be the executor kind of reporting back like what you fought, if you won, things like that, what potions you used. So that's kind of the missing piece, I guess.
Awesome. Thank you, Hubert. Winston, I really believed in you today. You know, I put my influence on you in both of those bouts.
Sorry to let you down, Bolon. You know how it goes. Germ played pretty good. He had a good game. You know, what can you do? Some you win, some you lose some, you know.
Yeah, no, they were both very, very good matches, and again, greatly appreciate you you running through these every single week for us. It's very, very much appreciated. I think Sarge is trying to tip you for a new team in chat right now.
Maybe I'll fight him next week. We'll see what happens.
Oh, the gauntlet has been thrown, Sarge. Will you respond?
He probably can't though, because I think he has to like work during the day. So it's like, you're gonna have to take a day off of work if you want to fight me. So
sounds like a convenient excuse, is all I'm saying. It sounds like he's scared to fight you. But I guess we'll see what he says. Let's see, rolling into a couple more questions. I'm actually going to take a couple again. When updates, including bug fixes, get made to combat, can we post them in the game updates Discord channel? So the short answer is we can try to be more diligent, either one, about that. A lot of times Beetle's fixing bugs and it's just kind of under the radar that they're getting pushed, fixed, and going. But we can definitely try to stay more in sync on that to keep the updates going publicly, even on like the longer term bug fixes. So we will try to improve that. It'll require some improved internal communication as well, which is okay. And try to make sure that we stay on top of that. Actually going to go out of order real quick and jump back to Hubert for a question from chat. How are the gas fees for the executor transactions handled as you post the answer in chat?
Whoops.
Let me make you say it live anyway.
Yeah, we pay for those. So it's just part of our budget.
Thank you. Let's see. A couple of front end questions that I've been authorized to answer. Win pet counter, referring to when you open your pet inventory screen, though similar to how we show your quantity of heroes. I believe we could do that, so it's going to go on Beetle's list to take a look at. The second one is win bulk bridging for pets. That one is actually a little more intensive. I did talk to Zipper about that when he was doing the bulk hero bridging, and unfortunately almost none of that work translates over, so it will be a decently sized task to do that. It is on our list of things that we would like to do for a good quality of life improvement, but it will take some time to implement that one, so unfortunately not an immediate priority. Let's see. Speaking of Beetle, is Beetle alive? He is. Beetle Dude is alive and locked in his dungeon, grinding away on several things right now. But I'm actually going to pause. I saw Fox, you had unmuted. Sorry, I was just running. Go for it.
I'm sitting on the floor. I'm sorry, but just wanted to throw out there that like the contracts actually do support multi-pet and equipment bridging. But the interface, just having to build the whole interface for something like that is a lot. So that said, somebody out there, enterprising individuals in the community could build like their own like little tool that would do that if they're interested.
Awesome. Yeah, which I believe there may be one, but I might be wrong. I don't remember. I'm pretty confident there was one for heroes, but I don't remember if it covered other things. So I'll see if somebody tells me in chat, but otherwise I'll keep my mouth shut. Real quick, also off top or out of chat question for Hubert. Will patrols be possible without basic equipment from the weapon and armor shop?
At least the level 1 through like the first one, the first tier of enemies, I think, you know, they're designed to be fought with level 1 heroes that don't have any like store-bought equipment. If you go into the higher tiers and you're like the same level as the enemies, you're probably going to have a hard time because you're going to be using the level 1 equipment still, and you know, your defense will be low, your attack power will be low. And so it'll even though you may be able to get through it, but it may be tough. But then again, I guess if you're like using like really high level heroes with no equipment, they may be able to do okay, just because they'll have a lot of HP and they'll have you know, pretty high stats. So any skills that do stat damage will probably still work okay. But you know, the level 1 equipment does have pretty like low caps on like how high the attack can get on them, and also same thing for the defense. So I mean, you will not be like mitigating much damage that's coming at you, and yeah, you won't be, you know, your attack is going to be pretty low if you don't have equipment. So I mean, you can try it, but yeah, might not work out too well.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. Thoughts on an in-game glossary for boss fights that show like boss abilities, loot tables, that kind of thing, similar to like an adventure guide. I mean, I'll say personally, I do think it would be cool to have at some point. I think it would also take a decent amount of work that we unfortunately don't have time for at this moment, but also a great plug for the wiki. You know, that is, I think, a pretty, you know, most games, if you're looking for informational references, some of it's in game, but wikis are very, very commonly used in the gaming world. And I think that's a great place for stuff like that, to have single points of reference. Shout out to everyone who has been adding to the wiki thus far. And as always, a request that if you have the time and inclination, go add something to the wiki for us. It's meant to be, you know, community generated and for the most part, community curated. But it can be a very, very powerful onboarding tool for new players looking for how to play the game. You know, people can post their personal guides and recommendations and tips and tricks and all that good stuff. So plug for the wiki as well. All right. Jumping back over to, actually, I'm going to snag one more and then we're going to go to Hubert for a couple. Anyway, for replays to show the number of turns in the bout at the start or somewhere at the top of the replay. I'll just say, and Hubert may have something to add to this. If not, that's fine. But we do at some point want to revamp the replay system to have more controls, you know, pause, fast forward, that kind of thing. Right now, it essentially just replays the battle through the combat engine. So there's no additional controls that really can go into it. So that will be a sizable revamp. As far as showing the number of turns, that may be possible now. I have not asked Beetle yet, but we can put that on his list to investigate, unless Hubert has other thoughts.
Yeah, no, I think you nailed that on the head. It's would be a pretty big chunk of work to do anything additional compared to what we do right now. Besides, I mean, yeah, getting a turn count maybe not too bad, but the like pausing, fast forwarding, rewinding, like that would be a whole chunk of work that would probably take Beetle, you know, at least a couple weeks to get all the way done. I'm guessing. So I don't see us doing that anytime soon.
Awesome. Let's see, a couple questions for you as well, Hubert. What if anything, prevents the release of durability before Transcendence, Divine Essence. As long as Divine Essence were to be shortly after, do we foresee an issue in durability kicking off first?
I mean, I think it could have been possible, but it wasn't the direction that we went in our development path. So like, I just don't see it that happening at this point. We do have implementation work ongoing on Divine Essence right now and everything that's tied to that. And then, you know, durability would be the next thing to be worked on after that when we have the resources. But, you know, we're juggling that with patrols, with getting tournaments done and everything else. So, you know, we just don't have enough like hands on deck, I'd say, to be able to like get both of those done at the same time, or like get one work done before the other. So yeah, I would expect to see probably Divine Essence come out first, and then durability, you know, some point after that. But you know, I don't think either of those are going to make it out before we get patrols out.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. Thoughts on eventually having a way to level up stamina potions so that they would restore enough for 6 or 7 or more quest attempts? So like a Stam Plus that does 30 stamina, perhaps taking an existing stamina potion along with some other mats to boost its capacity.
Yeah, that is kind of an interesting idea. I think, you know, if we were to make it where it was like every 5 stamina steps or something like that, then there would be a lot of different variants of stamina potions, which might not look great in like your inventory or when you're shopping for them. So I think there's kind of a limit to how far you'd want to go with that sort of thing. And, you know, maybe it doesn't make so much sense right now, but say in the farther future when we have level caps increased a couple times and people have like heroes have like 50 stamina, you know, then I think it might make sense to have a stamina potion that's basically 2 stamina potions effect. But yeah, I do think, you know, there's kind of a limit to how many variants we should have. And I think it's maybe a little too soon at the moment to do that.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. Can we have a 1-week event that anytime somebody uses the summoning portal, some Marvin Gaye "Let's Get It On" song plays? We would have to talk to Sam about that one, but you know, I'm pretty on board with it. Thoughts on being able to sell equipped heroes with equipment on them in the future? I mean, I'll kick that one off and just say it would make hero shopping very, very, very intricate and difficult. You know, you're looking at 2 thieves that are virtually identical, but one of them has this item on it and the other one has that item on it. You got to also account for like the durability and the number of repairs left on that item, how many times that item has been restored. So it's not that it's not possible, but it probably would not actually be a very great user experience. There would have to be a insane number of filters. You know, what if you find the hero that you want, but it's got a piece of equipment on it that you don't care about? Are you forced to buy that? There's a lot of implications that would go into that style. So personally, I think it would actually be not great for user experience. If anybody has any other thoughts that they want to chime in, feel free.
Yeah, I guess I'll just also say from like the selling perspective, you know, we'd also have to add a whole bunch of new warnings, just because I expect there would be people who didn't realize they didn't unequip their equipment. Maybe they only had 1 Excalibur and they didn't mean to like list their warrior with it equipped, but they did, and they didn't like account for that price, and you know, someone swoops in and buys it. Like that sort of scenario, we've seen that happen in the past with like Gen Zeros, and you know, we've tried to like insert warnings for that sort of thing. We'd have to do even more of that if we were to like do like full groupings of heroes. So it's definitely a complex issue, and you know, might be. I tend to agree with Bull on like it might not be a good user experience, and better to kind of keep things in their own little areas. But yeah.
Cool. Let's see. On Metis, can we have a filter for pledged heroes? I believe that is already on Beetle's list, actually. But if not, it is now. But pretty sure it was actually already on there. Discord related question: request for a lore channel. Only give a role to people to type there who will contribute meaningful content, which is tricky in itself, and then allow everyone to be able to review lore posts, add reactions. Could start a thread under them so community can talk about it there. Okay. I think it's fun. I like it. I don't have any objection to it. Take me a little bit to get it set up, so it may not happen literally today, but I will put it on my list, which thankfully is not quite as long as Beatles. But yeah, I think it could be fun. Let people create some cool stuff. I love it. I love the idea. Jumping back over to Hubert, I know it seems backwards, but has there been any consideration to releasing new codices to PvP first and then not putting them in PvP, or I'm sorry, PvE, until we are satisfied with their balance?
Yeah, no, we haven't really thought about doing that. I don't think it would really buy us much time, unless we were just like releasing everything into PvP without like doing any balance testing at all at first, which I expect would probably not be the best experience for everybody. There'd either be way underpowered or way overpowered, potentially. It's not very often that we get it just right on the first go. So, I don't think they'd really buy us much to do that anyway. So, I don't think we'd do that.
Awesome. Thank you. Thoughts on adding a test dummy / punching bag mob named Ballon, which I have to assume was inspired, to the combat testing area. Could be used to test damage, would be helpful with stats, pet testing in combat, etc. And as a kind of secondary part, could even give the mob like a trillion life, and when it dies, the winner who gets the killing hit gets a small prize.
Yeah, poor Ballon, right? So that last part might be a little bit tricky if we were to do it, just because we'd have to have kind of a shared HP pool across different instances of a combat instance. So that would be kind of an advanced thing that we don't have. We'd have to like build a whole new thing for, so we couldn't do that just right off the bat. We do have the combat testing grounds right now where you can test out skills on the blubs, and they don't really have that much defense. So if you're just trying to like get a sense of like how much damage you're dealing and stuff like that, I think that there is kind of already an option for you for that. But like just a big punching dummy instead, that's maybe something we could do, but I don't know that it would give you that much more than what you can get from just attacking those blubs. But if it did have that extra little tidbit of like it has a certain amount of HP and people can sit there hitting it for a long time until it dies, that would be something different. Though I expect if there was a prize, people would probably just use bots to get that prize, considering it would be pretty boring until that thing died. So I don't know. I think there's kind of problems with that idea.
Cool. Let's see. Any thoughts on a holiday visage? I'll say, yeah, we're celebrating mushrooms this year. No, so realistically, we do not have anything planned at the moment. That doesn't mean it couldn't change. It is only December 12th, so there is still some time. But at the moment, we do not have anything planned on that front. But, this might spur a conversation. So stay tuned. Going back over to you, Hubert, thoughts on a hunt rental system? Let newbies do hunts with other players' heroes, rentable squads. They keep the drops. The person who put the team up for rental would get the raffle entries.
Yeah, I think that's kind of an interesting idea. in general, I think ideas where you're renting teams from other players are things we've talked about in the past and thought about. How exactly each instance would work and whatnot is, another question mark. And there's been differing ideas on how that should work. If we were to do something like that, I think it's going to require us to kind of make some more decisions on our end if we were to do that. And also, just right now, I don't think we're going to have the resources to prioritize doing anything like that, at least for the next couple months or a few months, I'd say.
Cool. Do we expect pet combat bonuses along with tournaments, or do we foresee them being after?
I would say probably after at this point. Good progress has been getting made on those, but patrols has been our focus for, we've had kind of all hands on deck on that, and it has kind of pushed back other things like pet combat bonuses. But thanks to that, though, I think, we're just today actually have all of the monster skills are now programmed in the combat engine. So we're going to get into like our balancing a lot more hardcore starting today to try to get that all tuned. So, but yeah, at the same time, that was Typical who did a lot of that work, and now he's going back to working on the pet combat bonuses, I believe. So, we're gonna keep plugging away at it. I just don't think it's gonna be quite ready in time, but not that long after, probably.
Awesome. Always appreciate the insight. Let's see sorry, lost my place there for a second. So Giant Slayer procs anytime your HP is lower than the enemy. Thoughts on adding to Last Stand instead of being a one-time proc? It procs when your own hero is below a certain percent of HP. So like once your hero reaches 15% HP, Last Stand would activate.
So it sounds, kind of like turning Last Stand into Giant Slayer, just kind of working in reverse on the HP. Which, if we were to do that, I think we'd need to change what Last Stand does, because right now it gives you very high defense buffs. And if that was just like a permanently active thing rather than just a temporary thing, I think that would maybe be too strong. So if we did go down that route, I think that's what we need to do. As it stands, though, I think Last Stand is a different trait. It works differently, and I think it does a pretty good job as it is. It's kind of like a second life in a way, but not quite the same either. So maybe, but probably not. I'm not sure. I think it's okay at the moment, but yeah.
Sweet. Any thoughts on using current quest mats plus void shards to summon monsters in the future for a hunt-like battle?
Void shards are intended to do that on their own. If it's requiring additional materials from the rest of the game, that's possible, I suppose. You do use those materials anyway when you're doing combat, just if you're using any potions. So I think that's kind of already achieved, but we could turn that up even more if we wanted to. But for sure, we want there to be, our next void hunts, maybe the next one will require void shards, just so that we can start giving those more use case. So they don't really have a use case yet, so we can give them a use case, and I guess we can consider if we want to add any other materials as a requirement for that.
Cool. It seems like patrols is going to be limited to X amount of tries like hunts. Can you speak to the reasoning behind this?
So I guess first off, there's no stamina on Metis, so to kind of have a similar feel of like using up your stamina, like having it be limited in that way, it's kind of the same way ish, except with stamina you can use stamina potions. So there's a little bit of that. The other part is just because the enemies don't scale, they're going to be pretty easy to kill with higher level heroes. And they do have, they have loot, they some rare loot and whatnot. So like we need to be careful about like letting that loot become too prevalent just by like letting people spam through it. So without controls, I think it would just I could see that becoming a worse economy overall. It does limit how many times you can do the patrols with a group of heroes, but that doesn't mean you can't use other heroes either, and do more patrols. So I think this encourages people to use more heroes, and I think that's a good thing. So for the time being, I think that we're going to stick with this. We can always adjust things down the road if it seems like there are good adjustments to be made, but this allows us to kind of keep the loot drop rates higher, so it should feel more rewarding overall as you're playing. But yeah, hopefully that answers everything.
Awesome. Let's see. Can we get a lesser normal greater stone filter for the tavern? I believe that is going on Beetle's list. So we will follow up on that there as well. I believe we may have the tracking now, or maybe not, but we'll find out. All right, let's see. This may be our last question. We may be able to slip one more in. We'll see how this one goes. But I'm going to kick this one off, and then others are welcome to chime in as well. Why doesn't the team utilize governance votes to get a sense of what players want? So, I mean, I'll say like it is possible to do so. I do think that there is a weight that is put on governance votes that makes it not always the best way to solicit feedback necessarily, but it is also effective in a different way because it's based on people's voting power, which is useful. But I'll just say like beyond that, honestly, just not as much of something that we have really like felt is necessary at all times. We have the talk site where that's really kind of what it's designed for. People can go, they can post ideas, they can have discussions about those ideas, and everything that is on that site gets read. And then beyond that, obviously there's Twitter and our Discord, where also like I would say I probably read 90 to 95% of messages that pass through our Discord every day. So it's also like we feel like we have a pretty good way of getting feedback. Y'all's feedback is always heard and seen and passed on, and that's part of my job is I go into meetings and say, hey, this is these are some of the conversations that the community's been having, and then we talk about those. So it's more so just currently it's done in a more like informal way, and honestly we feel like it's been pretty effective. I think it's been pretty effective. There's been many changes made based on community feedback, but at the same time, like we can't make changes based on every individual person's opinion. A, because we may not think that that's best for the game, and B, because most likely there's also a person out there with the opposite opinion. So in order to keep things progressing, keep the game moving forward, keep building new stuff, we have to weigh in the community feedback as well as what our plans are for the future also. So, yeah, Kirby feeder on the rise, always. So I will pause there and see if anybody else wants to add anything to that.
Oh,
You are muted.
I'm muted. At least I caught myself that time. I know that probably gamers are going to hop in here too, but just wanted to throw in, like we have these AMAs every week. We answer questions, anything that you guys want us to talk about live, just ask us. We'll talk about it. We're very transparent. There's much better ways to solicit feedback that we are actively doing, and I think we're actually one of the leaders in the space on that. So I'm really proud of our efforts there. And Dreamer probably will talk a little bit more about that as well, I think. So I'll just be quiet.
Yeah, I think I won't repeat what's been said, but I did want to add like my own like perspective. Bull on here listens to all of you, even when he disagrees with you, and then we all have to listen to him in all of our committees and meetings. So I do want people to like give credit to how much the community feedback, complaints, suggestions actually contribute to the overall discussion, decisions, and development. Maybe sometimes you're like, hey, you didn't do exactly what I said, therefore you didn't listen. That's not true. We listen to, well, at least everything that's we can get to, and I feel like Bolon has a really good handle on that. And man, sometimes he does not let things go. He represents you guys well. So does Sasha and others in the on the team that get feedback, and that does play a part. You know, I could think of some very specific times when things have changed greatly based on feedback. I think the most obvious and in your face was Stick's intern disagreeing with the overall plan for Visages at one point to not be tradable. So I did want to like kind of pat the back of Bolon and others and the team being receptive, but we also need vision and we need a direction. And if that changes every day or every week or every month, and we're doing and undoing and going this direction and that direction, it's hard enough to get things done building live. Funded the way we are and everything. I feel like we're doing a good job, but we'll continue to lean into player feedback and what's possible and what we can get paid for and what you can enjoy and what can bring in new players and what our team is happy with and what's within our realm of possibility. It's a hard thing to juggle. We're doing our best at it. And everybody that has contributed, even if the intent wasn't purely positive, it is formed our opinion, decisions, and ultimate build, and we'll continue to do so through AMAs, through submitting questions, through talking in Discord, through catching up in one-on-ones, and then maybe in the future through more things like when we did try to do the request for comment and it didn't necessarily go so well. That was only one of many other things that we try to get a pulse on what the community and players want. So good question, but I did want to also like call to attention that all along since day one, we've been doing our best to do what we think is right, to listen to how you guys receive it, and then to get your feedback on how we could adjust going forward. We'll continue to do so. But big shout out to Bolon and anybody supporting him in that effort, because it's a hard one. Sometimes opinions are not easily accepted, and but all are very well defended, I feel like.
Awesome. I appreciate you guys. And yeah, I mean, I'll just say last thing as a perfect example of that. Stormtrooper was asking in the chat. He has a question submitted. We're not going to get to that question this week, unfortunately. But the main response to that question was going to be, hey, cool, we're going to talk about that internally in our meetings this week, and we'll report back. So like, that's how it goes. If you have thoughts, if you have ideas, if you have questions, submit them to us, give them to us. We will talk about them. We will consider them. We will respond to them. That's what we want. So make sure you keep it coming. With that, we are at the top of the hour, so we are going to go into our wrap up. I will kick it off, and then Dreamer has been doing an insane amount of traveling and representing, so we are going to go to him for a bullish at the end of this. But I will start off by saying, A, don't ape into broken mechanics. B, thank you all who have tuned in here live and will listen to this later. Thank you to everybody who submits questions. As always, you can submit your questions at talk.defykingdoms.com or in the AMA questions channel in Discord. Appreciate you all. Stay safe. Have a good holiday season. We will have more AMAs before then, but still have a good holiday season. And just really, really appreciate you guys, and very, very, very excited to share more on what we have coming up. Let's see, Winston, any final thoughts?
Yeah, hey, thanks, Bolon. Thanks to Germ Curry for fighting me today. Well done. I'm gonna have to get you back sometime in the future. That was rough. I totally lost my train of thought there. Yeah, I remember now. Please take a moment to check out some of his insights on hunts. He does weekly and daily insights, and he's also he's polling everybody. He's using polls to learn about stuff. So fill out his poll. I'm sorry, I can't. It's every time I say poll, man. It's just I can't not laugh about it. So check out his poll. But anyway, yeah, and thanks to everybody who has reached out to me about my dog this week. You guys are great, the best community, and thank you so much. Appreciate it.
We'll go over to Hubert.
Still thinking about Germ's poll. Yes. Kind of repeat of what I've been saying for the past few weeks. You know, the design team, the dev team, everyone is working really hard right now. We have a lot that we're cooking up, and you know, I'm really excited for patrols. Looking forward to like really diving in and getting that balancing going. Now that we have all the skills in place. Our art team really knocked it out of the park with all the VFX and animations that are kind of tied to all these things. So I think you guys are going to be really surprised once we start showing those more. I don't know when we're going to start showing those more, but really cool stuff. And just really excited for everything that we have coming in the future. So thank you all for your support as always and all your questions, and happy holidays.
Thank you. Also, thank you, Ogre, for reminding me. Please do, if you would, like this video, subscribe to the YouTube, follow the Twitter, retweet, yada, yada, yada. All of that really does go a long way in boosting our awareness. Over to you, Fox, for final thoughts.
Cool. Yeah. Thanks, everyone, for coming. And there's some great questions this time around. There always are. It's always nice to be able to speak live and see a lot of the same people here in the audience listening every week. You guys are awesome. Really, really grateful for our team. They're also awesome. Really great people that I have the privilege to work with. And yeah, I guess just wanted to say thank you and happy holidays to everyone. And we'll still be here working.
And last but not least, to close us out for the day, Dreamer.
What's up, everybody? I guess I'll use this as a little bit of a report too. So I just got back from Art Basel, and Avalanche did an incredible job at their events and side events, attracting some of the biggest names in the space and providing environments for a lot of networking to go on. I think there are a couple, messages that I read of like, when Dreamer gets done partying, cough, cough, I mean networking, blah, blah, blah. And, Avalanche actually did it very well. They didn't lean into the partying too much. And for, I think, like 6 days straight, morning to night, they had tier 1 people in this space actually talking and spending time together. Yeah, and there were events and things to attract that group like you need. But it was time very well spent. We got exposed to, I think, 5 new people that I've been looking forward to meet for a long time. A couple of them are in the gaming space. I tweeted a couple of them out. Others, I'm respecting their privacy. But it's really cool. If I want to tell you why I'm the B word, I'm going to use it like others' reactions and words here. There was one person that has been in Avalanche ecosystem for a very long time and is arguably one of the biggest supporters by following on X. And he was so excited to meet somebody from DeFi Kingdoms. He says he's been to Summit, everything, and for whatever reason, we never ran into each other. And he just really commended us, the team, the community, the game itself, the product, for how far we've come and all the adversity that we've kind of shown through, and offered his support and his network. That felt really good. There are other, like a tier 1 gaming influencer that we were talking about kind of the difficulties with influencers and builders in the space, and how sometimes stuff that gets all the focus or the players or the price impact actually has very little long-term contribution so far. And people are looking for big winners and pioneers. And he did express, if I didn't see you at these last 4 or 5 events and had these genuine conversations, and I see the build, and I see from initially you showed me PvP, and then We looked at the test, and then we looked at patrols now, and now you're linking that to guilds and how that's all coming together to be able to vote in there. He's like to see it firsthand and how quickly you guys progress and how much you listen to what's needed and find solutions for problems. He's like, I'm infinitely more aware of how formidable an opponent is, DFK, in the gaming world. So it has been a hard year. I've traveled a lot. I've been home very little, and I've been constantly sick. But fighting the good fight to just represent what everybody here is doing, people that are playing every day, questing every day, crafting every day, building tools and contributing to the castle, contributing to these AMAs, the tweets, the retweets, all the committees, and everything creative. People are paying attention. We're starting to turn more heads. People are starting to be convinced of our actions, not of our words. And I truly believe 2025 is going to be our biggest year yet, where we see people return. We see large masses come in at the easiest way to get in the game, the most effective way to level up low-level heroes in the game. People will talk about play to earn again, which I think is not a bad thing. Globally, people love the DeFi aspect. In Argentina, in Brazil, in Asia, specifically Thailand and Philippines, people love that. And even there's a US-based top, tier 1 gaming influencer that said that in Miami as well. He says, I think we kind of lost sight of the whole vision of Web3 gaming, and you guys are holding strong a lot of those pieces, and you're leaning into the play for fun aspect as well. So I just want to report back with everything that I've been hearing and working on and trying to form the opinions of those that kind of matter in the sphere of Twitter and the space. We just need to keep doing what we're doing. We need to keep finding solutions to improve, to identify pain points, to make better, to make it more fun, to get more volume, to make better partners, and ensure that those partners believe in us even more than they do. And some people say Web3 gaming is inevitable. Definitely DFK's involvement at the top in Web3 gaming is truly inevitable. We'll continue to build that from the pretty pictures to the pretty code to all the beautiful relationships we have outside of and within our community. So thank you, everybody. Hopefully you are happy with the report of the various travels and efforts. And with that, please join me in a very big bullish. Thanks, everybody.
Bullish.
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 Thank you, everybody, and we will see you next week.
DeFi Kingdoms, where you can summon heroes, trade with other players, quest, and fight challenging enemies in a fantasy world brought to life in pixel art animation. Command your legion, claim your legacy.